Okay, we're going to go to our final speaker now, who's Rocío Seguel. She's from Chile. She's a teacher and a photographer and belongs to the collective COFRA, which is a group of women who live in different cities in Chile, and they work on radical feminist issues and abolitionism. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rocío Seguel. I'm from Chile. And as I say you before, I'm a teacher. I work in a school and I belong to a women's collective called COFRA, which means Radical Feminist Collective in Chile. Currently, we are 50 women who live in different areas of the country, from the north, where the first city is Arica, and to the last southernmost city in Latin America, Punta Arenas. Okay. Well, first I want to start define what woman's meaning. And as we know, women's means adult human female. But for transvestites, be a woman is a gender. For instance, for the famous Caitlyn Jenner, be a woman is hard. He said, the hardest part about being a woman is figuring out what to wear. So what dress to wear is a hard issue for women. But in Kabul, since a couple months ago, an athlete woman was killed. She was beheaded. And why? For being a woman and practice sport. And in the same place, young girls have to get married with men who are between 40 and 60 years old. And why? And born women. Here in Latin America, every day there are femicides and that go unpunished, because being a woman means that your partner who say they love you kills you whenever he wants. Being a woman means that just only when you are a little girl and no man harms you. For that reason, in this last time, in some countries of our region, Latin America, have been created some laws that penalty fee men who harass or shout obscenities at women and girls in the street. And a famous influencer transvestites through social media say, if I walk for the sidewalk or for the street and a man harass me, I will pay the penalty fee. Being a woman means walk and feel fear if you are alone at night. It's meaning that if you are in a disco, that a man put drugs in your drink and rapes you. And in this last month, the British police affirm a huge increase the cases of young women drugged through their drinks in the discotheques by men. And here in Chile, we have a lot of cases of young women who committed suicide because they were raped by men who drugged them previously. But a trans woman influencer in this context, preparing going to a party, say this, look perrísima. It's a weird word in Spanish, but it means look like a bitch, look very hot and sexy. And this influencer said, I look perissima, and if any man don't touch my body, I will consider it disrespectful. Okay? Being a woman's meaning that in daylight, a man kidnaps you by trafficking and prostitution networks. And in this regard, a Latin woman prostitution survivor points out that prostitution breaks your identity and makes you an object of use and abuse. She said a whore only has a mouth, vagina, and anus. That the same man who makes you a whore in another neighborhood is a husband and a father. However, a trans female regarding prostitution points out that I love the feeling that gives you to know that others want you and pay you only for being pretty or having a good body is priceless. Obviously, you should know who you offer the service to and you set the limits. It is like the sale of any other product. So of this way, we can note that for transgenderism, be a woman is a fetish. It is to be a sexual object for male approval. It is femininity. It is to be sexy and an object of sexual desire. And all that we have oppressed us for being women's, for them is our identity and they love it, all that stuff. Another example occurred in Chile the past March 8th is the Women's Day. And that day, hundreds of women protests for women's rights, and there were mother, sister, friends. We cry for our disappear, rape, and murder at the hands of men. And in that activity also participated men, and they arrived like this with a tiny lingerie. And in this photo, you can see in the wall up, say, is writing, "Who wanna kiss my ass?" And this picture was shared on internet and it was shown as pride of trans activism. Probably more than half of the Chilean population defends and support trans people, stating that we must recognize them as they identify themselves and refer to them with the pronouns that they want. This year in my town, a trans person demanded her workplace, which was a hospital, because they didn't call with the pronouns. The hospital had to pay him some millions. Since 2 years ago, a man who identified himself as a woman sued his college because they didn't call it with the pronouns she, her. The man was asking money as well as compensation for suffering transphobic. Also in Chile, there is a famous transvestite actor who identified as a woman, and a deputy said that he's not a woman, he's a man. And the Chamber of Deputies requested a sanction for speaking a hate speech, because to say that a man is not a woman is considered hate. But has been a woman paid for sexual harassment in his work? Has a woman been compensated for discrimination in her work? Has a woman been compensated for earning a lower salary than men? Never. The whims and tears of men matter more than women. Still in Chile, abortion is not legal because society opposes a woman to decide freely, but gender identity and sex change laws are easily passed. Here in Chile, many people believe that being a feminist is the same as being a trans activist. I mean, feminist is the same fight as trans activism. In fact, in protest to legalize abortion, transvestite and non-binary men participate because if they feel like a woman, so abortion is a trans woman issue as well. And a lot of women who consider themselves feminists think that trans women are part of feminist movement. I have friends who have been harassed in their university by autoyophilic men and by women who support them. Also, the trans movement say that the feminism is not for women who are polite, rich, or white. And the past year, a Polish woman was killed by her ex-boyfriend. And this year, there are 2 reports of rape against 2 women belonging to the Chilean army and police. But the lives of these women, their experience do not matter because they are white and because they are officials of these institutions. Trans movements say it is more important to empathize with a man who feels like a woman. And for this reason, radical feminists, we are called fascists, Nazis, conservative and that we are privileged to be born women and identify with the female gender. Well, people don't distinguish between sex and gender. The more feminine you are, the more woman you are. And it is difficult to understand that a man cannot be a woman. If you tell the truth, all people call you fascist, transphobic, and even racist. But they are narcissists, they are autoyanphilic, they cannot have our life, experiences our body. But as Simone de Beauvoir said, Borges, women are in solidarity with bourgeois men and not with proletarian women. White women are in solidarity with white men and not black women. And today it could be said that women are in solidarity with transvestites, that with women themselves. Even though there is evidence that transvestites have raped women in mixed toilets, they continue to support the idea that they are women just for putting on their faces makeup and because they wearing heels. And here in the city where I live, there are bars with a mixed bathroom for all kind of gender. And this is increasing. We cannot allow it. We must fight for our separate spaces. We must fight against our erasure and stop feeling pity for autoyanphilic.